Good day, everyone. I will be your reporter for assessing grammar and vocabulary. So, let's start. So, assessing grammar. In terms of assessment, grammar is the central to language description and test taker performance. Today, the knowledge of grammar is evaluated by its correct use in communication through listening, speaking, reading, and writing in second language. Communicative competence has four competence, which is grammatical, social linguistic, discourse, and strategic competence. So as we move along with our topic, we're going to react to give the definitions and its meaning on the four components of communicative competence. But before that, the definition of assessing grammar is the central language wherein we're going to assess the task performance of the student. We're in on the part wherein they how they deliver or they and their usage to it. So there they can be evaluated through listening, speaking, reading, writing in the form of second language, which is English. So moving onwards. So grammatical knowledge consists of three elements. So here we're going to tackle the three elements of grammatical knowledge. So grammatical forms of structures of a language form is both morphology or how words are formed and syntax. How words are strung together, both of them are concerned with the linguistic accuracy of language. So in here, thus they say that the grammatical forms focuses on the structures of language, wherein we all know that it composes the morphology, the syntax, and their usage. So this part, they practically focus on the structures of English. So for letter B, the grammatical meaning of those forms. Grammatical meaning consists of both the literal and intended message that is conveyed by the form. It concerns with the meaningfulness of language use. So on this part, it focuses on the forms, on how they literally intended the message and they convey. So you as a teacher, you're going to assess how the student delivered their grammatical meanings and ways and forms. So moving onwards to part C, their pragmatic meaning or use in a given context. The pragmatic or implied meaning results from the appropriate language use choices a learner makes in given communicative. So in this part, you as a teacher will give context to how they amplified or how they deliver the their performance, and you're going to rate the learner's choice, and you will furtherly mold them by putting them into a communicative event to furtherly how could I say this to furtherly mold them or strengthen more their knowledge about the grammatical knowledge. So let's move onwards to the next slide. So as what you can see, these are the four communicative competence. So what we have here is the linguistic, the strategic, social linguistic, and discourse. So let's first define communicative competence. So this is the ability to understand and use language effectively to communicate in a authentic social and school environment. So what does this mean? So cognitive competence, let's say it is how the language was used effectively and how had the institution or the school put it into a authentic and for say they use English in a rigid and solid um, environment or so. So let's move on to linguistic part. So here, linguistic is the understanding and using of vocabulary, language, conventions, grammar, punctuation, spelling, syntax. So this is more likely on the structure part. And for the strategic, this is the using of techniques wherein they overcome language gaps, plan and assess the effectiveness of communication, achieve conversation fluency, modify text for audience and purpose. So this is more on the technicalities of usage of technicalities and strategies in delivering English. So for this course, so this for social linguistic, this is the having awareness of social rules of languages like formality, politeness, and directness. And for nonverbal behaviors, cultural reference like idioms, expressions, background knowledge. So this is more likely they focus on the linguistic, or on the mm, focuses on the formality and politeness of the society. So for this course, it is the understanding of how ideas are connected through. So in this part, patterns of organization, passive transition, and devices. Moving on to the next slide. Okay, designing assessment task, selected response. So here we have multiple choice tasks. So the most common selected response task present a blank or underlined words in a sentence, and the test taker must choose the correct response from the options that are given: grammatical form, grammatical meaning, grammatical form, and meaning. So what you are seeing right now is an example of a multiple choice. So as you can see, this the teacher have given the students uh, a story or phrase, a stanza, wherein they fill in the gap. There was a blank part in every sentence, and they have to fill the right words that fits the vocabulary. So assess selected response. So you're in discrimination tasks, the task that asks the test takers to attend to input that can be either language or non-language, and to respond in the form of choice between or among contrasts or opposites, such as true or false, wherein a grammatical form and meaning. So what you are seeing right now is a visual closure sight word cards, a brain-based sight word resource. So more in here, the teacher will be given flashcards wherein the student will identify, or they will fill in the correct letters to form into a word. Yeah, like they're going to the teacher will going to let them visualize, and they were going to give the answer. So the on this part, the five macro skills was uh, will be used, which is the visual. So let's move onwards. So designing, assess, selected response still, noticing tasks or consciousness raising tasks. Test takers are asked to indicate, underline, or circle that they have identified a specific feature in the language sample. Wherein, likewise, grammatical meaning. So what you are seeing right now is a example of noticing tasks or consciousness raising tasks. So here this is more like assessing the student on how they have further learned the the topic or the lesson. So designing assessment task, limited production. So gap filling task. The language is presented in the form of sentence, dialogue, or passage in which a number of words are deleted. The task taker must choose the appropriate response for the deletion of gap based on the context in which language is presented. Grammatical form, grammatical, and grammatical meaning. So in this part, this the teacher will going to give them a gap filling task wherein a sentence, dialogue, or passage in a certain number was deleted, and they're going to fill in the by answering it. So next would be short answer task. The input is presented in the form of question following reading passage or oral visual stimulus. The expected test taker response can vary from single word to a sentence or two. Grammatical form and meaning. Testing grammatical form and